I am Patti Matthew. I'm your host. I'm here with the amazing Julie Youngblood and longtime generational realtor. What's happening in Julie's world today? What's new and exciting?
You know, just navigating this market and getting our agents into productivity and staying relevant, honestly.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
It sounds like real estate constantly changing.
Always.
Now,
Thank goodness.
you've been in real estate 21 years. Do I have that right?
Well, I've been a realtor 21 years. I've been licensed for 25.
Okay, so you got some stuff to share with us. You got some
I've
stories.
seen some things, Patty.
Now, it's in your DNA because you have a legendary father who happens to be in the business.
I do.
What was that like growing up with Mr. J.C. Melvin?
You know,
it must have been fun.
It was fun. He got into real estate when I was born, so that's all I've known from him is that.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a real estate office. I can't say that I wanted to be a realtor. That wasn't the plan. But I didn't want to go to college, and Dad said, well, why don't you at least go to real estate school and see what you think? So I did, and I hated it. And ended up in real estate anyways, and I loved it.
Okay.
And I do love it. So, it was, I don't know how to say, what is it like growing up with a real estate agent for a dad? Because that's just how I grew up. Like, what's it like if your dad's a doctor or a teacher? It's just kind of. But I have thought about, I don't know if you've ever noticed, it's like teachers raise more teachers, doctors tend to raise doctors.
Right.
And I guess realtors just raise more realtors.
But you've seen some stuff. You've seen the Valley really grow in your time here. I mean, I moved here in 91. I think there were 200,000 people. You grew up here, so not only you've seen the city grow and a lot of changes just throughout the industry, right? The ups and downs and the city growing. And how has that had an impact on your real estate business? You must know every corner of the city.
I'd like to think that I know a lot of it. There's parts of Summerlin, Patty, I just don't know very well. I will tell you that Summerlin was kind of starting, right, when I got into real estate. It was starting to become the popular spot. But I'd like to think I know intimate details about lots of parts of the city, which make it really fun to go on a listing appointment.
Yeah.
Right, so I was just on a listing appointment right by Rancho Bel Air on Palomino. Talking with them about Michael Jackson's house and the Binion house, and there's stuff that you learn about growing up here that it's really kind of neat. We have such a cool history in Las Vegas.
Most people don't know that. They think everything was built yesterday. I guess in the grand scheme of things, in terms of the country, that's the case. But yeah, Palomino, what else? Las Vegas, Rancho Nevada Estates down there. It's so
Scotch
beautiful.
80s. There's so many pockets of old historic Las Vegas that you just got to know about. And if you're not truly an enthusiast about what makes Las Vegas and what makes real estate unique, you'll never know. You'll be stuck selling in what other cities would call the suburbs, right?
Right, suburbia.
Right.
You're also a mom, right? You have two. You have my boyfriend Cole.
Yeah, I've got two kiddos. Technically, one is now officially an adult.
Naya
just turned 18, and Cole is 16.
So he's on his way. He's basically an adult.
He thinks he's grown up.
Yeah, what's that like being a mom and running? You have a big business. We're going to talk a little bit about it. You've done a lot of things, but what's it like raising them by being in real estate? How's that been?
I guess I kind of raised them the way I was raised. They grew up in the office.
Yeah.
They know how to work a lockbox. Cole knows how to cold call. Naya knows how to work the database.
Okay.
They've been on listing appointments. I was never shy about, I've got kids and they're a big part of my life. And if you want to see houses on a Saturday, there's a good chance they'll be there.
Yeah.
And so they were always a big part of it. The office helped raise them in a lot of ways.
Which is so cool. Do we see a next generation of agents? Anything in their blood?
Naya, probably not. She's UNR bound, neuroscience.
So cool.
She's very much an academic. Cole has already told me he'll be joining the ranks. And so we'll see. He's got some growing up to do, but
3 generations could happen.
It could happen. And he is also a JC. Actually, I'm a JC as well. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that.
John, Christopher, Julie, Christine, Justin, Cole.
How cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now. You've lived many lives, right? I've heard you say, my university is real estate.
Yes.
That's all I've ever known.
Right.
You started in operations, you did sales, productivity coach. What I know about you now is you're a very high-level coach to many high-producing agents throughout the country. as well as you're affiliated with a really good, it's not a team, it's a business kind of in a box, right? Tell us a little about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I do get to coach top teams all over the country, and I'm affiliated with a company called Place, which is really, it's kind of like a tech platform for real estate professionals, and you have to have a certain level of production to be affiliated with Place. And so what ends up happening is you get the top agents that are running teams in the country, masterminding, sharing information, utilizing each other as a resource. And then we've got some really incredible thought leaders that really help guide us through the industry at a very high level. And so that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and what made you decide to go that path? What was interesting?
Yeah, it's a good question. I will tell you, I was maybe like a lot of people. I had gotten a little burnt out on the whole team thing. So I started on a team, then the productivity coaching program, became a solo agent, and then I started my own team. And there's just so much that you just don't know, right? When you're building a team, and just because you're a great real estate agent doesn't mean you're going to be a great team owner.
A business owner or a CEO?
It's just so different. And so I've always enjoyed building, and what I liked about Place was that it was a model to build faster. I didn't have to go run through 6 or 9 or 12 months of trying something.
Yeah, smart.
I just got to plug into what worked, as like for agent splits and all the stuff, all the team stuff that I really, even though I've been on great teams and I've taught lots of people how to build great teams and hold their agents accountable, it just wasn't, this was for me the faster way to get it done. And then honestly, just having support, doing this stuff, it's a lot of work. And I'm at a point in my life where I really want to also enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't work like I did when I was 22 anymore. And so having a partner that does a lot of support for me means I get to go focus on the things I'm really good at.
I think that's an important lesson, because I sold for a while, and if I had to do it over again and I would start with the team, because I'm not as ambitious. I don't want to build out. I've built lots of systems. So there's something to be said for time. I want my time.
Yeah.
And there's still value. If I can plug and play into something to allow me to go further faster, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I just think about, like, this weekend I was having a challenge, and I called the owner, right, the CEO, and I said, hey, I'm running into this. Here's what I think I want to do. What do you think? And since he's done it 5,000 times, he's like, here's your options. Let me know what you decide.
Yeah, more people should. It would be nice if more people in our industry had that mindset. Right, because it really just kind of, the water gets muddy and people get tripped up on the back end. They lose focus on the revenue generating activities that are required to stay in this business.
It's funny. I look at me joining Place as a team owner. I joined Place for the same reasons an agent would join a team, right? I joined Place because as an owner, it gives me, I have an HR department, I have a legal department, I have a financial coach, I have everything I need like from the business perspective, and I'm happy to pay for that.
Right.
And an agent joins a team for a great database, a system for their sphere, how to do open houses, right? So I just look at it as, if I want people to be a part of my team, I have to be willing to be a part of a team.
Yeah, and the other thing is, as your lid grows, the opportunity for them grows, right? If your opportunity, you create a bigger world, more people will stay in it.
Right.
So it's really, that's a team is it's a business within a business at a brokerage.
Right.
And so many people get caught up on, the split, the easy. It's a short-sighted way to make a decision. To really plug and play and have those resources, they're invaluable.
Yeah, I think what's neat about our setup too is that when an agent does join our team, our goal is to get them to start their own team. And for most people, when they join a team, the team's goal is to keep you there as long as possible. Right. Whereas for us, we sit down and we're like, here's our opportunity model. How far do you want to take it? And like it involves all the way you running to the top with your own team and your own admin and your own marketing department. And like, we get you there. And I'm motivated to do that. And that's what I really like about it. So I'm looking for people that don't want to I don't want team agents. I want business builders that I can go help build businesses.
Right, because the compensation and the structure is, as they do better, all of a sudden they're able to get an ISA, they're able to add on. So at some point they can run their own team,
That's
right? Yeah.
And we support them in all of that.
Yeah, super
Like when
smart.
I was hiring my first admin, I had systems that I could follow from Keller Williams, but I had never done that before. And so I was like, well, I followed it and I did not do a great job the first couple of people.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got a whole crew. All I do is hire admin support. And so they do the interviews for me. And it's an incredible system. And I want to find agents who want that same opportunity. And they start as an agent and they build up into, eventually they're also a team owner.
Well, and that's hiring, right? You can hire as leadership's followers. Leadership will hire followers, or leaders will find other leaders. You want other leaders.
I want other leaders. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's shift a little bit. Coaching and mentoring. When did you, because again, we know you can sell real estate, you do it at a high level, your business is up, I think 36% over last year.
Yeah.
Which is, how's
Thank
that
goodness.
feel?
Good. Yeah. It was, it's always shifting. I think that's what I love about this business is it's never the same year over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
If it was, I think I'd be bored and out of it. So yes, I'm excited that it's up. It's not the best it's ever been, but it's like we're always figuring out what's going to work today, what's going to work this year.
Right.
And that's what makes this business so fun.
Well, and you also took some time away from being in real estate. I mean, because you've built yourself a nice ecosystem of other revenue streams. You have the flexibility. You can do coaching. You were affiliated with Tim Heil. I mean, that's the beauty is there's more than one way to be successful in real estate than just selling real estate. So coming back, when did you realize you had a knack for coaching and mentoring? And can you explain in real estate the difference between a coach and a mentor?
I can. So I actually, when I was on the team I was on and I was there for almost 10 years. Mm-hmm. I loved that team. I actually helped develop a lot of the systems around holding them accountable. Okay. And then I eventually got to be a big part of that. And I really enjoyed that piece of it. So I kind of grew into it. And then when I wasn't on that team anymore, that was when I really started a coaching program.
Gotcha.
And it was geared at new agents, and it since obviously has evolved to now where I'm coaching teams. But to me, that is the coolest thing is to see someone do something they didn't think they could do, and just the light bulb goes off, and they get excited and curious and energized, and it's just there's something magical about
it's like
that.
Good stuff, like being a teacher.
It's the best. Yeah, it's funny because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And around 22 years old, I said, I do know what I want to be. I want to be a kindergarten teacher.
Really?
Yeah, I really I do love working with kids. I love teaching children to read. I've spent a lot of time in kindergarten classrooms now doing that. I just really enjoy it. And I went to go find out about going to school. And after I did the research, I was like, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's financial suicide, right?
Right.
And so coaching for me, it really fills that part of my heart that really loves to teach.
Nice.
And working with new agents, not to be disrespectful, but they're like the kindergartners of real estate, right?
They don't know what they don't know.
For me, it's like it's something I'm really good at, and it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I just found a way to marry the two and have an incredible career. I just love what I get to do. I feel like the luckiest girl in the world. Yeah, and
you're also affiliated with the top mastermind group that you've invested significantly. That's something worth saying, right?
Yes.
That's something you have invested significantly in your personal and professional growth, which has resulted in financial growth. So how did you find the group you're with? What's good about that group?
Yes.
What do you love?
So I am a firm believer that if you're going to sell the Kool-Aid, you got to drink the Kool-Aid, right? Okay. So if I'm going to be a coach, I better have a coach. If I'm going to ask people to join my team, whose team am I on, right? So I'm a big believer in all of that. And so I found this mastermind group. It was really accidental. See, the guys that started the mastermind, they started a coaching component. And the coaching component was a funnel to the mastermind. So they started this coaching company, but they didn't have a coach. So I happen to know Brian Gubernick, who you know, and he knew that I did productivity coaching, and he showed up in Las Vegas one day and said, hey, I need to talk to you, which is wild because he just doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, I'm doing this thing, and I think you'd be great. Do you want to give it a go? And I was like, I've kind of got other things I'm doing. And then about a week later, I was like, all right, so what are we doing?
Yeah.
And then that ultimately built the mastermind, which is now what it is today, it's an incredible group of people, and it's even gone further outside of real estate. So it's really a business owner mastermind.
And
at
that's
this
the
point.
best when you see it kind of develop into other things. So real estate's
Yeah.
always the catalyst, right? However, if you stay in it long enough, when you affiliate with the right people, it can blossom into something, anything really.
Yeah.
That's the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, well, and it was that relationship with Brian, right? I was very intentional about my relationship with him. When I first met him, he was teaching a class, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but I like the way he talks. I like the way he thinks. He does CrossFit, and I made it I was very intentional about making sure that he was in my ecosystem, because I had a coach who said, you got to find your 5 people. You got to find your 5
Yeah,
people.
that's the truth.
And I was running hard after him. And I put him in my database.
I say poor Brian didn't have a chance when you locked in on him, huh?
I don't know if he didn't have a chance, but I made
Or
sure.
lucky Brian.
I made sure. I think he would say that he feels lucky now. Like, it's a good partnership. We have a really good relationship. So, but it was because of that persistence, and it was hard at times to be like, hi, how are you? And I don't even know if he knows who I am, but he did, because he showed up, right? So it was being really clear about who I wanted to be in business with. And then when the opportunity struck, I was like, okay, so that relationship has opened so many doors for me in the coaching realm.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, truly, it's like one of the best decisions I ever made was to get into a relationship with that guy.
Good for you. You deserve it.
But I just want everybody to know, like, pick your pony.
Pick your 5.
Go figure out how to get into a relationship with them, because there's a way. And if you can add value and they can add value.
Yeah, didn't you chase Gary Keller down at some event or something? Somebody was on your list. You told the story of similar. It wasn't Brian Gubernick, but it was somebody high up like him, and you set your sights on them, and you were at one of the conventions, and you were
I don't fangirl too much, but I will. If I have someone on the list, like Gary was on the list, I did get to teach with him on stage at CEO Summit.
I remember.
Which was, and then we had a conversation behind this, and he was like, you did incredible. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. But I always look for bridge builders too. Brian, though he was one of my eagles, is what me and my coach called him. Who are your eagles?
Oh.
He ended up being a huge bridge builder.
And what's a bridge builder?
To me, that is someone who can get me to someone.
Gotcha.
And he just happened to also be someone that I still want to be in a relationship with. Because sometimes bridge builders, this sounds terrible to say out loud, but sometimes you outgrow them, right?
People are meant to be in your life for a certain season.
So he has connected to me to a lot of the people that were on that list that I was like, I want to be in business with. And sometimes you evolve and you're like, I actually don't want that anymore. And that ended up happening with a few of the people on that list.
Yeah, and
the
that's
list
okay.
has evolved, and it should evolve, right? So,
right. Again, I think people they're in your life for certain seasons, and that season may end, and it's just is what it is, and it's cool, and you grab a friend or two and you take them with you, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So tell me about what's the difference in real estate. I want to talk about some other things, but briefly, what's the difference between coaching and mentoring? I hear that often, and people go, I don't need a coach, I need somebody to just help me. There is a distinction in real estate, right?
So there's a mentor. A coach is a two-way relationship. You were looking for guidance, you were looking for advice, whatever you were looking for, and you got into a two-way relationship with someone. That is a coach. Okay. I have a job, you have a goal, and we're going to get there together. There's
accountability baked into some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Accountability. There's blind spots. There's
systems.
All that stuff. Right. That's what a coach does. Two-way relationship. A mentor is, first off, you might have somebody who is your mentor and you don't even know they don't even know you exist, right? So think of people you follow on YouTube, right? Like I love...
Yeah, that's why I learned how to cook.
Tony Robbins. I love Martha Stewart. She's a mentor. Like I look up to her.
Interesting.
When she says to do things, I do it. She doesn't know who I am, but she's an influence and a mentor for me. I want to learn expireds. I go to Google, who's good at expireds, right? I find a guy who's good at expireds. He's mentoring me and doesn't even know it. So a mentor is often, it can be a one-way relationship. I think in real estate, when people say mentor, what they're really talking about is they need somebody to help them with a transaction.
That's how I see it. And sometimes, who's going to hold my hand through all of this? Yeah. It's different than build a business builder in real estate.
So that's a trainer.
Right.
This is how you do it. Let me hold your hand through it. Here's how you do it. And that's
difference.
training. That's also a two-way conversation, but you have to want to be trained, and most people don't want to be trained until they've got a transaction.
Then it's an on-demand business. Then they want service right then and there.
So it's different. There's a huge difference.
Yeah, there is. So thank you for clarifying that, because we get that often in our industry.
I would say specifically in real estate, the mentor role is transactional, right?
I agree.
And the coaching role is for production.
Yeah, I agree. Because, when I've had coaches, they haven't helped me with onboarding somebody or a real estate transaction. They don't get in the thick of it and intervene.
Right.
They're helping me with my mindset and the systems to get what I want, to achieve my goals. Really, the office, the broker, the people here in your, whatever your ecosystem is, the ones that are going to get you there if you show up, right?
Right.
If you have to show up, you have to come, like I always say, Michael Jordan, right? Greatest basketball player ever. He didn't work out at home and just show up on game day.
Right.
He showed up, he took advice, he was coached by Phil Jackson, he went to the arena, so you got to come into the arena.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. What's the secret to longevity in real estate? Why do so many agents burn out?
Oh my gosh, I think you just have to be stupid enough to never quit.
Okay.
No, I don't think that. But
Too much grit to quit?
I do, but I think it's, I call it you have to close the back door. Too many people that get into real estate are trying real estate.
What do you mean by that?
They say, well, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to try real estate.
They're not really committed.
I'm going to try.
There's a difference.
Which tells me the back door is open so you can run right out. As soon as it gets hard, you're out of here. This business will get hard.
There's no try, babies. You commit.
There's no try. This is like you got to close the back door and you got to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that it sounds super cliche, but if you have an option, if you have a bailout plan, like there's a high probability you don't have what's the staying power.
Okay.
So, and then you've got to just be willing. It's grit. Like it took me 7 times to pass the real estate test.
Yeah, that I tell people that we have top agents who've taken it. That's a great litmus test for getting into real estate, because there's so many times the same principle applies to everything we do in starting a real estate business.
I think you've just got to be willing to. It will happen.
Okay.
If you're open, coachable, seek advice, seek coaching, seek correction, it will happen, but most people will quit. Or most people think they don't know what this job is. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think a team is important, picking the right brokerage is important, because you get into real estate, we have a job to do.
Here's the truth. I've never met a top producer who got into real estate because they like HGTV. Did you know that?
I think that there's been no justice done to our industry around what we really do.
What we see, right?
For sure.
Let's talk a little bit about fitness. You're really into fitness. You're committed in everything that you do. You've done the Everest climb. Mm-hmm. You've done triathlons. What are you doing for fitness?
Like sprint triathlons, nothing major there. I don't like the swim stuff.
You don't like the open water swimming. You thought that was different, right?
I did it and I didn't drown, so that's good.
Well,
but
thank God for that.
It was not something that I would be excited to do again, but I did it.
So what is it with you always have a fitness challenge going on.
Yeah.
You're counting your macros. Tell me how that's playing, what's happening in your life with that now, and why is that so important? I
have this saying that I want to die as young as possible, as old as possible.
Okay.
So I want to
I
want to stay as young as I can for as long as I can, essentially. And I didn't want to be that mom that huffed and puffed around the playground, and I don't want to be that grandma that can't keep up with her grandkids.
Aww.
And just there's a vanity side to it. I like to look a certain way, and I know that when I'm exercising, the one thing, we talk about that a lot here.
Yes.
For me, my one thing, I really took that book seriously, and it wasn't, lead gen matters, yes, and that's what the book wants you to, I think, arrive at. But for me, my one thing is it's got to be exercise. Mm-hmm. Everything in my life is better. My business is better, my attitude is better, my sex life is better, my money is better, my body is better, my eating habits everything is better when I'm doing something at the gym.
It's like in the middle of your 7 circles, right? That wheel of life.
Yes, it's everything to me. And when it suffers, it just nothing is humming quite the way that it should. And my way of staying focused is to always have an event. And
a fitness event.
Something big that is scary as shit.
What's the biggest thing that you've done that's been scary?
Well, it was that Everesting event, the
Okay.
29 event.
You went to Jackson Hole, was it? Where did you go?
I've done Whistler, which is up
That
in
was it.
Canada, and I've done Snow Basin in Utah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do another one in Canada this year. I'm going to, literally 2 months ago, I said I'd never run a marathon, and then 10 days after I said that, someone's like, "Hey, we have a spot to raise money for charity for the New York City Marathon. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, if I'm going to run a marathon,
You're a baddie.
I don't know. We're going to see how it goes." But it's a challenge, and I don't know how I'll do, but what an honor to be asked. And if you're going to do one, why not make it that one?
It's kind of like the 12-hour walk,
I did
right?
that too, yeah.
I know what you learn. I did about 2 hours, little fraction of it. However, the point being is you're able to push through when you don't think you can, and that's really the benefit to doing things like that.
Yeah, there is something that happens when you push yourself physically that you can't recreate, but it absolutely impacts everything else you do. Mm-hmm. The physical connection, like that 29 event, was one of the first.
That was the Whistler thing?
The Whistler and the Snow Basin it was some of the hardest work I've ever done. I knew I was tired, hungry, not hungry. I mean, like all of the stuff was happening, and you really just want to quit, but you can finish.
Nice.
And so there's a mind and body, soul, spiritual, like something happens, and you're like, this is the edge. Oh my God, I just had a moment. This is the edge. And then you want everybody to get it.
Going deep with yourself.
Oh my God, it was, if I could cry talking about what happens out there on that trail when you're alone and it's midnight and you're scared, but you're doing it anyways.
Wow.
Someone hanging up on me on the phone.
Big deal. That's nothing.
I probably was 5 feet away from a grizzly bear. Like, I don't care.
And
right? I'm fine.
You also have a great partner in life who not only works in your business, but is also, he's a pretty healthy dude.
Yeah.
He really is part of the journey.
Yeah. He's my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
He is a super support system. He is down for whatever. Anything crazy I want to do, he's like, "Okay, babe." He actually got me into fitness.
Yeah, I can believe that because he's really passionate about it, which is wonderful. Tell me about, what does wealth mean to you besides money, outside of money?
For me, it's really, wealth to me is freedom to choose.
Okay.
So
to choose what?
To do whatever I want.
Whenever you want.
To hang out with who I want. To not hang out with who I don't want.
Nice.
To take the vacation and not worry, to go to the fancy restaurant. That's money related, but for me it's about, do I get to have experiences without worrying about what's that mean?
Freedom in going back to that wheel of life, the 7 circles, freedom in everything you do.
Yeah, it's just freedom.
Okay.
Freedom. Like, I don't have to do any of this. I want to do it.
What is your craziest real estate story? Coaching, transaction? I know you've got some stuff with all your experience. I know you have some zingers in there. What do you want to share with us?
I have some really crazy stories. Some of them are maybe not podcast appropriate.
I'll let you decide.
But I do have one story. Okay, the house was on Kennewick on the east side. I'll never forget it. And the seller was in prison and had a power of attorney for whoever was staying in the house. And I was pretty nervous to go to this house, so I took my assistant with me. And I had never been to the house. We showed up to the house, and the neighbors came running out, and they're like, "Are you the realtor?" And I said, "Yes, I'm the realtor." And I had stacks of paper, because we did not DocuSign or AuthentiSign back then. So all the offers with me. I must have had 20 offers.
You had the banker's box in your car,
yes,
the traditional,
Michael was with me. There were cats running everywhere. The neighbors were like, "Please sell this house." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll do." We knock on the door. A lady opens in a white t-shirt only. I'm like, "Okay, cool." We walk in the house. I'm like, "Let me take a look around." There's no carpet. There's feces everywhere. It was wild. And she sat down. I was very young. I think I was probably 21, maybe. I was like, okay, let's sign some paperwork. And she sat down on the floor and she didn't have anything on underneath her shirt. She sat crisscross applesauce, and I was like,
Oh,
and Michael
wow.
was like, okay. I was like, this is the best offer, sign it, go. And I'm like, I just violated the law. I didn't present all the offers, but we had to get out of there. It was crazy. And that's probably the mildest of what I could share
Okay.
based on what I've seen out there.
You
So,
sure about that? That's pretty risque.
I mean, that one was, I'd never seen anything like that at that. I had never seen anything like that. And so it was, I'd also never had a seller in prison. And there was a lot going on there. But they were clearly on some drugs. Great.
Some good drugs,
Some
huh?
good stuff. Yeah.
All right.
I've never seen a house like that. It was just one of many stories.
Any coaching stories that were pretty zany?
I mean, there's a lot of good stories.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of,
Probably highs and lows in those
I'll
stories.
tell you that probably the biggest theme in coaching for anybody that wants to become a coach, it's a long game. It's a great job, but if you're doing a good job, you're going to have pushback. You're going to have people be angry and upset with you because your job is to hold the mirror up, and people they shouldn't always like what they see, right?
Yeah.
And so I think probably my most favorite thing that happens is when someone is really upset and they quit.
Okay.
And then a few months or a few years later, I get a letter in the mail. It's always a note card that says, I'm so sorry, you were right, I'm doing what you said.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I think about you every day, and thank you so much for being so hard on me. And I'm sorry I was so mean to you when I left. And I probably have 30 or 40 of those.
That's
at this
wonderful.
point. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good in the moment, right?
When that happens, the breakup or
When they're going to the team office leader and they're like, "Rah!" And
Yeah.
that never feels good. But if you know that I always felt like my number one focus is to get you paid. Nobody does this stuff for free or wants to. And sometimes that just
That's the truth.
It doesn't feel good and you don't like it. And it's not up to me whether you like it or not, but I still have to give you the honest truth.
Yeah, you have an obligation. The accountability that's the highest form of love,
Right.
and showing people what's really there. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and there's just like this outbreak of coaches in the last
Yeah.
5 to 8 years, and they're love bugs.
What do you think about that? I feel like there really is, to be very honest, I think it's an overcrowded space.
It is.
And I think there are a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. And how does that impact your business?
Well, I think I'm lucky because I was pretty early in the coaching space.
Before.
And, I did make I think I made a good name for myself around being direct, no nonsense, and it is what it is, whether you like it or not. This is what it is, and so what are we going to do about it? What can we control?
Yeah.
And I didn't do a lot of training, right? I did a lot of coaching for productivity so that your training matters.
Okay.
That was my tagline.
Interesting. Okay.
I coach for productivity so that your training matters. I don't care if you know all the stuff you need to know. If you don't call a seller, it doesn't matter.
Well, too much input, not enough output, right? It's the same reason why I said it earlier, people are overweight, there are foolproof diet plans out there, the mindset gets in the way. There's a real fear of failure, just fear plays a really big part in people getting out of their comfort zone to get the results they want.
Yeah, so I think coaching has become a thing for people who maybe like real estate, but maybe aren't very good at selling it.
Yeah.
And don't want to, but it's devolved a little bit.
Yeah. So 2 final questions.
Uh-oh.
All right. If you had 10 hours a week, what would you do with them? How would you spend them?
I do have 10 hours a week.
Extra 10 hours. Extra.
Oh.
Pardon me. Yeah. If you had an extra 10 hours a week, how would you spend
Do I have to
it?
spend them in that week, or can I accumulate and spend them all at once at the end of the year?
I like the way you're thinking, but no, for this
Okay.
for this game, we're going to play it's that week.
I would probably spend it with Naya and Cole.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
They're doing their own things now, and so I would find a way to make them stay with me a little longer.
To get in there, yeah, because that time is fleeting right now.
Yeah.
They're taking on their own things.
Yeah.
All right, and then if somebody wants to connect with you or follow your journey, where would they go? How would they connect with you?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the places. And then I love emails. Julie@nvhousehunt.com.
Great. So Julie Youngblood, you're a
Yeah.
blessing to the real estate community.
Thanks.
Thank you for everything you do and just being you and being committed and just leading the way for us all. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me.
My pleasure.